Richard Morey. I'm happy to be here giving a report this year at the request of your United Family Organization and in behalf of the Colesville Restoration. Before I get started with the report, I would like to reflect for a minute on the passing of our dear friend, Brother Steve Glenn, who passed away this past November. And we're going to miss him. We do miss him very much. There just won't be another guy like Steve Glenn. Now I'd like to talk about the transition that occurred last year. In about April, unbeknownst to Cindy and I, the board had unanimously selected us as their successors. And after much prayer, fasting, and faith, we went ahead and accepted this responsibility. And it certainly is a big one, especially to try to fill their shoes. But we're doing our best. But we're not alone, fortunately, because with the reorganization came the appointment of a new board. And I'm happy to announce these members of the board to you. First, there is Lloyd Winward. He and his wife Joan live in the same ward down in Tempe as Raphael and Sherry. He's really been a worker bee and just quietly does whatever he's asked to do. One of the significant things he worked on was helping Raphael install the wonderful windows donated by Jones Paint and Glass. Second is Aaron Goss. Aaron, Annabeth, and their family have been there every year that I've been associated with the home to do whatever needs to be done. Come rain or shine, they're working. And we look forward to having him work with helping on the East Coast relationships. Next is Carl Davis. And you recognize Carl and Janice as they are nice descendants. Another worker bee, both of them. Anything that needs to be done with the physical appearance of the homes on the outside, they dive right in and do it. Whether it's cutting down big pine tree branches or fixing furnaces or heating systems or water systems, he's the go-to guy. And finally, last but not least, is my wonderful wife Cindy, who has been with me through thick and thin since we discovered the home in 2012. She serves as the treasurer for the Colesville Restoration Organization. Now I'd like to give you an idea of the current status of the home. As you can imagine, we haven't even been able to open this year due to the COVID-19 concerns. Most of the big bus tours have canceled their tours for the summer, and we also have the concern for our docents. Many of those are hoping to reschedule for next year. We're trying to stay in lockstep with the other church history sites, in particular Palmyra, Fayette, and Harmony. So we'll follow their lead, and right now we're hoping for the month of August. So just stay tuned and look at our Colesville Restoration website. Now a little bit of sad news, but perhaps some good news. And the sad news is that the church history department has advised the mission president they don't feel comfortable having missionaries in the home, and so being obedient, he has not been able to supply us with missionaries for this year. Of course, it doesn't make much difference with the COVID-19, but that's going to remain the case for the foreseeable future. And that has a pretty big impact on us. We've endeavored to bring the night home up to the same standard level with tours and with continuity in history and correlation with the other sites, and we've had wonderful experiences in the past. But it's also another big impact to us because it's so much easier to manage and train the docents as they come and go every 2 weeks or so by being the constant presence there of the missionaries. The other thing, as you all know, is there's nothing like living in a home to keep it up. Whenever it's vacant, it seems like everything goes to pot. Well, a tough one for us is the loss of the revenue from the rentals. It cuts our budget almost well, more than 50% with the loss of the rental income. But we'll continue on in faith. I almost forgot to mention the good news, and that is since we won't have senior missionaries in the night home, that means that docents now can live there and serve out of that home as well as the Stoll home. So there you go. Come back and revisit the home. Now let me go over the expenses and fundraising plans. Most of the big projects that Rafael, Steve, Sherry, and Pat had in mind were completed as they hung up their carpenter belts and work aprons last summer, and they accomplished a lot. But what we have is we have our normal operating expenses and so forth, but even so, without those major capital improvement projects, it still takes about $8,000 to keep the night home open for tours each year. And with a contingency budget of about $1,000 to $3,000 for unforeseen items, it takes us up to about $10,000 to $11,000. I have made a list of some of the most immediate activities we're working on, and here's some that may appeal to you as things you might do as a service project. I won't go through the list, but you can see we have ongoing needs. One thing to note is with the Stoll home, Sister Pat Glenn still makes the home available to us to use to house docents, and also to allow us to provide guided tours. This is a big deal. We reciprocate by taking care of utilities and also the minor expenses that occur while the homes are open for tours. Now let me cover a couple of big wish list items that aren't in the budget. The first one is a big old maple tree that's just on the northeast corner of the house lot. This tree is tall, insect-ridden, and dying. If there's anything that keeps me awake at night during a windstorm, is the thoughts of that big tree dropping a big branch or even falling itself on the night home. We need to take it out as soon as we can. So it needs to be lifted out or taken out in sections by a professional tree removal company, and that will get rid of a major concern. The second item relates to a parking lot. Because the East Windsor Road is a highly traveled area, see, for big logging trucks and dairy trucks, they really come whizzing down that road. Our concern is for the safety of the buses and the occupants as they get off the bus, and not only that, for the convenience of the bus driver to be able to approach the parking area as more of a in line of direction rather than as a T kind of a parking arrangement. The current parking pad is a wonderful pad. It's got a deep sub-base and base of gravel and rocks, and therefore makes it so it can support a big bus. So what we'd like is either to expand the current parking lot by making it more of an in-line of travel and pull-off type of parking lot, or as option B, to build another parking lot below the night home, which would allow for the buses to pull off and then back on much more easily. Now let me cover a fundraising event we have. Aaron Goss and his family are helping organize a fun run. It's our first such event. We originally scheduled it for April 10th, but of course due to the COVID-19 we've had to reschedule, and we're tentatively scheduled for June 24th. You can check on the website if you're interested. And so far, the response has been exceptional, even including a couple of donors who have come up with about $1,000 each to help cover the costs of the fun run, including the insurance. We sure appreciate Aaron and Annabeth taking this on. We hope that we can clear about $1,000 to $2,000. Let me cover the final item, and that's the docents. We had some wonderful docents lined up for this year, and oh, they were excited to be there. But we'll do the same next year. Some great people, I'm sure. Let me cover some of the requirements that we want for the docents, so if any of you are considered, you can be prepared. As we prefer a 2-week minimum commitment, and the purpose is to be there to provide tours. It's not just a place to drop bags and go touring elsewhere. It's 7 days a week with 1.5 day off to go to church or attend your other duties. We want you to learn the Colesville story and provide the tours. And the excellent resource for that, of course, is Hartley's book. But we do have a prepared script in case you're not comfortable with remembering all of that. You provide your own living and travel expenses. There won't be any charge for housing. Your job is to also keep the homes clean and presentable, and also tend to the flower beds. And if there's any maintenance items that you would feel comfortable doing, if you'll let us know as a board, we'll approve those, and you can do it. If you've got young family members with you, they must be at least 16 years or older, and that's mainly due to the precious antiques and so forth that are in the home. I might mention that one of the greatest opportunities, having been there, is to be ambassadors of goodwill. We had wonderful, wonderful experiences with these good people, and it makes a big difference, because when the original owners first came there, things were very cold. They couldn't even shop in the local stores. But now you're welcomed with hugs and big open arms and many willing people. We love it. So you're an ambassador when you go back. So now, in conclusion, how can the Knight Family Organization help? Well, obviously, first and foremost is we really appreciate the cash donations. I don't know what we'd do without them. So far, we've had 3 family units donate since June of last year, and we really, really appreciate that. I might point out again that those are tax deductible, and then secondly, you can see that there's opportunities for service projects. That can be a lot less commitment than being a docent, because your time can pretty well be sliced up as to how it's convenient for you. The third area that I've talked about are being docents. Some have elected to stay even longer. They've stayed up towards a month, and we would love that because it's a lot more easy to manage. As I conclude this report, I just want to take a minute to share Cindy and my feelings about this special little place. This little home is a home of miracles. It's been a miracle in our life, and we've seen it work miracles in many other people's lives. It's a place that is sacred, and it deserves to be preserved. And we're doing everything we can to do that, so that future generations can still enjoy the wonderful spirit of this original home. Thank you for allowing me to take this time to report on the Knight home and the activities. Have a wonderful reunion.